We've been here for, we've been in this sector for 23 years. Um, we've seen 2 lakh children graduate from our preschools in Delhi. Today, I think around 12,000 children in Delhi are studying just in our preschools. So yeah, I think one thing is established today that preschool is important. So both from brain research as well as long-term studies like yours, which you said, and there have been studies in England where children were studied over 20 years. Similar results were found. Crime rates are low, teen pregnancy is low. So the importance of preschools is clearly has been proven, but the importance of good quality preschools is proven. So I think it's both ways. Wherever there's been research on inadequate preschools or so-called bad preschools, if I can use the word, it has been found to be detrimental. So generally, we should not brush away the fact that are preschools important or not. I think one thing should be clear that good preschools are important, bad preschools are not. And a child would be better off staying at home, I believe, rather than staying in a bad preschool. So the challenge before the country is that we have the largest children population in the world. We are ranked 134, and that's bad, right? 134 is not like high score, it's a low ranking. The second one or the third one? The last one, I'll send you. It's on the NCRT report. There was a focus group on early childhood education, and that's where a comparison study was done on the Anganwadi program. So this is not ECE programs, the government ECE program. So if it was about the private preschool sector, I would not be highlighting it over here, right? So, yeah. Okay, yeah, so the early childhood education in India is basically in 3 parts: the private preschools, the government Anganwadis, Balwadis, which are run by volunteers and NGOs. Out of these 2, the Balwadis seem to be now dwindling in number, and the Anganwadis and the private preschools are growing. So when we started our first Shamrock branch in Delhi in Ashok Vihar in 1989, preschools were very boring, and the reason for starting a preschool was that we found a market. We saw that the schools were basically extensions of the preschools were extensions of the primary classroom. There were 55 children in a classroom, one teacher going on, what is this? This is an apple, and basically preparing them for the entrance test and interviews to formal schools. And 1/3 of the class would not be paying attention to the teacher who's going on about an apple and would be paying attention to the crow outside. So that's when my mother actually was looking for a preschool for my sister. She's a baby sister that I have. And that's when the need was realized for a preschool. So when we started, we made very colorful preschools. People would say, "Itna colorful interiors, bacche padhenge kaise? They'll get distracted with all these colors." They said, "Where are the classrooms?" We said, "Why do you need a classroom at this age? If he wants to do storytelling, he comes over here. If he wants to go in the sandpit, he goes out there. For physical activity, they'll play over here." So, but people were shocked. I mean, people said, "How can a school not have classrooms?" And that's how we started off, and the response is there for all to see. We've done pretty well on that front. So you can go through it on your own. I mean, plenty of homework, rote learning happening. One of the things that was going on at that point was that formal schools used to conduct written tests at that point of time. And that was a stand which we took, and we lobbied very hard for it. Being a small play school, we lobbied with the government of India, with education ministers, that please stop the handwriting. And we took a stand that we will not teach handwriting, even in 1989. And that was a very difficult thing for us to do because we lost a lot of potential admissions, and we had rents to pay, and it was a business after all for us. But we took that decision that it's fine, we'll work over this. And I think somewhere in 93, 94, handwriting, the written test got abolished, and only interviews were conducted. Because as we discussed earlier, the children's fine motor skills were definitely not ready. Even in Shamrock today, we do not have any pencils in our schools. None of our interiors, when we talk to an interior designer, they come up with designs like pencils. Or a school banana pencil banao pehle. We say we don't have pencils in our schools, we just have crayons. So, present, what has changed? Change in family and community structures. Earlier, children were being educated in the family as well. Now with nuclear families, things have changed. There's increased exposure and awareness amongst the parents. People are traveling. People in small towns now have expectations. They have the net. They have cable television. There's increased aspiration for better schooling. People who cannot afford private education still aspire to have better schooling. Now there is a change. I mean, I remember I was talking to a parent, this was around 20 years back, and the parent said, "Sir, isko aise padhao ki doctor ban jaye." This was a 2-year-old. And from that, and I think the shift has been gradual to now where parents are asking for a happy childhood. And one of the reasons, at least in Delhi, is that the interviews have finished. When the interviews were finished, if this had happened 10 years back, 15 years back, I think the preschool industry at that point would have been wiped out. Because 15 years back, we were just preparatory schools. Our job was to prepare children for interviews. But now parents saw the benefit. Now it's become standard that parents have seen the benefit of preschools. One of the things that we discussed, social learning happens a lot at the preschools, and secondly is peer learning as well. And that comes across very strongly in the language development. The child has just spent a week at our preschools, he'll go back and the parents would come, his language development has happened so fast in a week's time. How has that happened? And in fact, we didn't do any magic. It was just peer learning that was happening. Children pick up words very quickly from each other. So the social development and peer learning are two things which preschools are really contributing now. And in all-round personality development and that happiness thing, I think one of the biggest changes that has happened where I saw a big shift was the movie Three Idiots. Before that, I never would hear the word, let my child be happy and let him do what he wants to do. And now that, after that movie, I'm hearing it a lot at parents' orientations. Earlier it was more of, DPS mein zarur kara dijiye sir, kuch, whatever, chahe isko maro waro. I had these words where parents would tell me, kaisa bhi karke, seedha karke sir, interview mein pass hona chahiye. And that was what parents were telling us these things. Of course, increasing use of technology, liberalization, where people traveling between countries, and we've seen a large number of players enter and exit the industry. Internally, what has changed? Our preschools as a whole, as a sector, the infrastructure has improved. When we started in '89, our school was seen as a bit of a rebel in the industry, doing something very different. Now it's almost become standard where play school kholna hai, paintings karo paintings, without any thought of what painting comes where, furniture colorful hona chahiye, bahar yellow kar do building ko, ban gaya play school. So at least there is some interest among people who are setting up preschools that infrastructure should be made inviting and children should like coming to preschools. There's better equipment, teaching aids, a lot of technology now being used, interactive whiteboards have entered the preschools as well. Some preschools are experimenting with tablets. Child-centered approach, we've not reached a stage of child-centric where the child wants to do coloring, so he goes to the coloring area and the teacher just follows. This has not happened, but there's increasing research on developmental milestones that children should have, and there is curriculum being, at least at our end, in our research and development wing, we do look at development milestones and we build a curriculum around that. I think the word curriculum is going to be a debatable topic today. But it is child-centric. It's not child-centric, but it's child-centered. Because of financial reasons as well, real estate is expensive, salaries, and the paying potential of parents. Homework now is, I think, preschools have completely done away with it. There are some traditional preschools, but again, they're being phased out. And teacher-student ratios have actually improved in the last few years. In the future, I think there's going to be more demand from small towns, and that's happening. Towns where we would not imagine opening a preschool, like we recently opened a branch in Shahjahanpur in UP. I would have never imagined 10 years back opening a preschool there. The role as a preparatory will diminish. Delhi, it's already finished. The role as a preparatory for formal schools. It's now a preparation for schooling in general. But the role as preparatory will diminish in other towns as this spreads across. There will be increased use of technology. Salaries are bound to increase as more and more quality preschools open. And I think one of the roles that as a preschool will change is will become more of a social center, a community center, as opposed to a knowledge provider, which they will get from TV, they will get from the iPads and the tablets. So to form a kind of a social structure from joint families to nuclear families to now increasing number of single parents are coming to our preschool. So our role is shifting in that sense.
Amol will just hurry up.
Yeah, this is my last point now. So increased choice of parents with more players. I think there's going to be increased choice for parents in the future. Thank you.
Okay, great.